Welcome everyone to Train Tuesday. I'm your host Jim Wiggin with Athern. So glad to have you on board. If you're catching us on the live stream, thank you. We'll do some shout outs here momentarily. And if you're watching us on the YouTube video later, welcome. Thank you for joining us. If you like the content that you see delivered on a weekly basis, do us a favor, like, subscribe, hit the notification bell. That way you're notified every time a new video like this drops into the feed. Now, without further ado, let's see who's joining us tonight on the live stream. I see Mr. David Reynolds has joined us. Sid is here. DJ Model Works is in the house. Ronald is here from Montreal, Railfan 101. Greg, Eugene, Randall, Jason, and BN Green 1970, just to name a few. So we got a little bit to talk about here tonight. First of all, there's some big news. We've extended our pre-order date until the end of December. Because really, I know what it's like. This is the holiday season. It's busy. It's crazy. I haven't had a chance to work on this layout in probably weeks, and I know I'm not going to have any time to work on it until after the holiday season is over. So it's one more thing that you got to keep on your mind is when are these pre-orders? When am I going to get my pre-order in by? Well, we could tell that I wasn't the only one that was not getting enough train time this holiday season. So what we ended up doing is we've extended those pre-orders, and we can talk a little bit about them tonight. Also, I got another surprise for you. I'm going to be showing you some things fresh from the desk of Athern Product Development. So there's going to be some things that you guys have been waiting for. You're going to get to see some updates, and you're going to see what's going to be coming soon. And then next week on a brand new Train Tuesday, we're going to be talking about some heavy hauling rebuilt locomotives. And I think you know what I'm talking about. So you're going to want to tune in next Tuesday for Train Tuesday for that episode. But for now, let's do another round of shout outs and welcome. Train Glenn 22 is here in Rodney, Railfan 101, Brody, NSWLE, and wow, Randall, and 78 other folks. So thank you for joining us tonight on Train Tuesday. I hope you'll enjoy this episode. So, as I was saying, Athern did a lot of thinking, and we are working on some new items for next year. But if you've been following us lately, we've been doing pre-orders every 2 months. That's something that we're going to carry on into 2026. 2026, we're no longer going to do the 30-day pre-order window like we've done traditionally in the past. There's a couple of reasons for that. One, it doesn't really give your dealer enough time to market what is out there. Honestly, it makes it easier for me to market both what's coming in stock as well as what is open for pre-order. And another thing is it gives you a little bit of extra time. Also, we've really went through a lot of data that came in over the last year. Now, if you remember last spring, we had a survey. We wanted to hear what you wanted for product, and we are going to do our best put those in there. Also, next year is our 80th birthday, our 80th anniversary. And so we're going to have some special items next year. And not only is it our 80th, but it's the 250th birthday of the United States of America. Now, if you know anything about railroading, you know that in the 70s, when the bicentennial was celebrated, specifically in 1976, a lot of full-scale locomotives were painted up in some really cool bicentennial paint schemes. Well, we're seeing that trend again in the full-scale world. There's many examples out there that are getting repainted to celebrate the 250th birthday of the United States. And of course, we have got a lot planned for that too in 2026. So in order to give development the time they need to not only work on 2026, but to also finish up some projects that have been announced already, we're going to go ahead and extend the pre-orders until December 26. So if you've got comments, if you've got questions, go ahead and put them on there. I'm going to have a little bit more flexibility tonight because I don't really have a presentation for you. And we can talk about the pre-orders. We can talk about projects that we're working on, and specifically, when you see some of the pictures of what we're working on currently, you may have some questions on that as well. So let's go ahead and see what kind of questions we have got. I'm going to go back a little bit. A lot of folks have been experiencing some weather. Yes, even here in central Illinois, we had quite a bit of snow, but I like it. Let's see. No, you haven't. The only thing that you may have missed is that we are going to be doing, we're going to extend the pre orders for what we call the fall edition. So the GP38 2s, the RS3s, and of course the new 36-foot freight cars. Those will be extended until the end of December. Tell me about it. It does feel like it was just yesterday. The older we get, the faster time goes. Now, one of the things I do want to let you guys know, if you have suggestions for road names that maybe we've not done on current models, or maybe there's new models you'd like to see us develop, you can always send us an email. And the email is athern-product-suggestions@athern.com. Now, keep in mind, we're not going to get an answer. You're not going to open a dialogue with a product developer. This is simply a depository for new suggestions. So we've had a few people have told the story before of one customer that was really irate because he didn't have a conversation with one of our product developers. It's not really the intent of that email. The intent of the email is to put in your suggestions. Another thing I do want to kindly remind a lot of folks, just because you put a product suggestion in there does not mean that we're going to produce it. Keep in mind that there are things that we have to look into, financial sales data, and if it's popular. You know, if I'm the only one that wants the Podunk Southern, chances are it's probably not going to get produced. However, if we get enough people that want a, I don't know, the NSF locomotive like the one behind me, there's a chance it's going to get produced. So let's see if there are any questions. If not, we will get moving. Terry's got a good point. He says it doesn't give us enough time either, as by time we get the news, we have less than 30 days of pre-order. Yeah, those days are over, Terry. We want to make it easier for you because let's be realistic. You know, we're not the only manufacturer that's coming out with products for you to pre-order. There's a lot of things that are demanding of our time, and especially this time of year, wow, tell me about it. I'd really like to get some work on the layout done. All right. Well, tell you what, let's show you some stuff that product development is currently working on. Some of this has been shared already on other live streams, but maybe you didn't catch them. I want to share those pictures with you. And so without further ado, let's go ahead and get started. And the first thing that we're going to talk about tonight is the Surfliner California cars. Now, I got to tell you, this is something that I know a lot of you have been wanting to see some kind of pictures of. You want to see what's going on. It has been a long time. There's been a lot of work done to these cars, and product development wants to stress that everything that I'm going to show you tonight, these are not finished samples. These are not production run samples. So we understand that maybe the colors don't look right. Maybe there's some things off here and there. Again, these are pre-production samples, and in some cases have been hand assembled by the product developer for testing. However, with that being said, I did want to go ahead and show you these pictures. So these were taken on John Stackpole's club layout. John has been the main product developer for these cars. I should also say too that Janik is someone else that's had a lot of work and a lot of research done with these cars, including the sound and a lot of the interior colors. So it's been a group project. It hasn't been just one person. However, I will say John has been putting in the lion's share of research and development on these cars. Here you can see the cab car. This is one of the cab cars that we're offering. Now remember, these are going to be available as lit no sound or lit with sound. They're going to have a Soundtracks decoder in them. And so you will have the same sounds that the actual cars will have. Now, a while back, Janik and one of the technicians from Soundtracks actually gained access from Amtrak, and they were able to spend an enjoyable evening recording all of the sounds that are going to come with these cars. So these are going to be the most ambitious project I think Athearn has ever done, and that includes locomotives. There was a lot of work that did with these. Now, I realize as I'm going through these pictures, the first thing you're going to think of, and I realize this, is when are they coming out? Are they close? We don't have a firm date yet. We still have some design challenges that we're trying to work through, but most of those design changes have been taken care of. Most of the decoder challenges that we had have been taken care of. Keep in mind that Soundtrax custom builds these decoders for Athearn. So it's not just a drop-in fit. It's something they actually had to build and design for us. Plus, we had to test it and going back and forth. And that's why a lot of this has taken more than a year to do. Another picture here. Now, again, keep in mind, these are pre-production samples. These colors have not been signed off on by Amtrak. They are licensed by Amtrak, so that means that we have to have Amtrak basically give the blessing before these actually see production. But we're getting close. We're really hoping to offer these for, for these to come into stock probably mid-spring of 2026. That's the goal. I don't want to give a firm date because, again, we're still working on a few smaller design changes. So here's a close-up of the lighting. So you can see the interior lighting. There's a couple of challenges here that we've still are working on. Now, we've had some people in social media comment that the glass looks really thick. Again, these are pre-production. These are not the ones that you're going to receive. However, one of the things I do want to point out is if you've seen these cars in real life, they have a nice tinting to them. It was actually quite a bit of a challenge for us to match that tint enough so that when the lights are out, they look realistic as well as allow some light. Another thing that John wanted me to let you guys know is the seat height that you can see in the upper layer or upper portion of the car. That is not quite right yet. There's still some work to be done there. So again, pre-production, not exactly what you're going to receive. Another one kind of showing off the lighting, interior lighting. And here's a really cool shot John got. Shut off all the lights except for, some of the station lights. That's a really cool picture. Kind of gives you an idea. You've got all the lighting. You can see the number boards lit up if you look carefully on the cab car. Another cool lighting shot. So these are going to really have some presence. I mean, if you pre-ordered one of these, man, you're probably really getting excited now because these are beautiful cars. Absolutely beautiful cars. They're going to have some major presence on your layout or your club layout, or if you bring them to a Fremo, you're probably going to be the hit of the show. These are really, really detailed and nicely done cars. Another night shot for you showing those ditch lights. And same shot, just in the daylight. So again, pre-production shots, wanted to share these with you. We did talk to Ken Bianco Jr. at Train World about these. I shared these pictures with his live feed. If you want to do a search on YouTube, you can look up Train World and look up that really neat conversation where we talked about these cars as well as some of the pre-orders. Really neat. I also had some folks asking about the colors. Is that the right blue? Is that the right sheen that we're going to see with these cars? Again, these are pre-production. I can't stress that enough. One of the problems that any manufacturer has nowadays is people want to see what we're doing, but then when we actually show you pictures, even though we tell you they're pre-production, we get a lot of comments. Well, that's wrong, that's wrong, that's wrong. Well, we know in some cases those things are wrong, but we also want to show you what we're working on. And this is one of those cases. So again, colors, tones, things of that nature, these aren't done yet. We still got some work to do. So moving right along, if you remember last spring, I think it was, we announced a new flat car and a new flat car load. Now, the flat car itself has been in the Athearn catalog for a number of years. However, way back when the load was roughly based on a Beach Bonanza aircraft, we had announced those. And unfortunately, the tooling, which went way back, was no longer salvageable. Now, the product development team was faced with a challenge. Do we work on the Beach Bonanza molding? Do we make new molding? What do we do? One of the beauties is our parent company, Horizon Hobby, of course, sells radio control cars, trucks, and airplanes. In order to get us on the fast track to get a really suitable load for the flat cars, we consulted with our fellow coworkers on the airplane side. And it just so happened that one of the most top selling RC airplanes they have in their inventory is a T-28B. Well, we got to thinking and I thought, you know what, a T-28B would be a good subject because it can be both civilian, it can be military, it can be used for a variety of reasons. I mean, as a flat car load, or it can be assembled like you see in some of the pictures here. In fact, maybe you've got a town that has a monument which is thanking the veterans of foreign wars. How many times have we gone through a town and seen a former warbird mounted for one of those war memorials? Just another option. Even if you just want to hang it up above the layout. These T-28Bs can be seen throughout the world. They were originally developed in the 1950s, late 1940s as a trainer, and they were used throughout the United States inventory right up until the late 60s. Now, after the 1960s, a lot of these entered the civilian market. Some have been restored to their original warbird colors. Some have been painted in wild paint schemes. Basically, what I'm trying to say here is these can be found just about anywhere. And no, they're probably not as ubiquitous as a Piper Cub or a Cessna 150. But that being said, we wanted to give you guys something that gives you a little bit more options. You're not just stuck at a local airport with these. You can use these all over. Now, these are incredibly detailed. If you take a look at the top portion of your screen, you're going to see how these come on the flat car. Really well done here. You can see the prop is in its own box. You can see how the wing and the stabilizers are stored. It is. We tried to make it as authentic as possible. The second picture on the upper right-hand side, same thing. You can see about how that's going to be on the flat car. Now, the one that's in the bottom corner, I'm really impressed with this. This is 1/87th scale. The first time John showed me this picture, I thought it was a 1/72nd scale model. No, it's 1/87th scale, and I want you to take a look at the interior of this airplane. Super detailed for its size. I dare say, as far as 1/87th scale model airplanes, this is probably the most detailed one you're going to find on the market. Now, when are these coming out? These are further down the road because we did just announce them, but thanks to our fellow coworkers at Horizon, we were able to put this on the fast track to design it for our needs. And so we're hoping to see these sooner than later. In fact, John may even have samples at the Amherst show coming up next month, believe it or not. Another one that got a lot of fan mail, if you will. We put these on social media about a week or so ago. These are the rapid discharge hoppers. Now, we announced these way back in 21. This was one of those cars that we had offered them before. However, this is one where the product development staff had to look at the conditions of the mold. And honestly, the mold was not in the greatest condition. Also, we had advertised them with these beat hoppers like you see here with the extended sides. Well, we had a lot of work to do. Quite frankly, these are brand new cars from the ground up. So when you do receive these and you have a former run, you might want to put these side by side. You're going to see the fidelity on these newer cars are way better. And that extended sides looks so much better. Now, it's going to be a metal etched material. And I do believe those will come so that you're going to have to attach them yourself. That's still, I don't have 100% on that, but from what I've been talking to with PD, those are going to be something that you're going to have to add yourself. These are hopefully going to be here probably by late winter, early spring of 2026. Here's some more. These are without the extended sides. Again, we announced these back in 2021. It's been quite a while, but it took a lot of work. Product development basically gave us a new car from the ground up. We're not advertising them as new, but the amount of work that we put into them, they might as well be a new car. Here's one I just saw in the comments earlier, wondering what's going on with these. A lot of folks have been asking about the SD40-2, specifically the Wisconsin and Southern, and specifically the 40th anniversary one. Well, again, Athearn Product Development is putting on the final touches of these samples. You can see all three of them right here. These are beautiful. If you pre-ordered these, pat yourself on the back, because if you didn't, you're probably not going to get one. These did extremely well in the pre-order, and they're going to sell quick. So again, if you got a pre-order, you're fine. You don't have to worry about it. These are going to be here later in the winter, probably right after the Amherst show. In fact, I'm hoping to have production samples at the Amherst show. Soon after that, they're going to be in dealer stores. Another great shot. This is a beautiful locomotive. I really love the paint scheme. I love the way it flows. This is really cool. And it was one that was really highly suggested. Now, remember me talking about the Athearn product suggestion email? Well, this is a case in point. We had a lot of people asking for these. We had the tooling already. So it's just a matter of going ahead and making these models. Now, there's more in that release. As you can see, we've got the Kansas City Southern, and we've got the Union Pacific. Got the big old snoot noses on these. These are great models, and you're probably looking forward to these. Again, your wait is almost over. You're probably going to be waiting till about the middle of February at the latest for these to come in stock. So there you have it. There is some stuff that you can be looking forward to. We wanted to show you behind the scenes at Athearn Product Development. There's a lot going on. Even though you're not seeing new pre-orders every 30 days, that doesn't mean that we're not busy. There's quite a bit going on. Product development is always busy looking at projects and having to determine if a mold needs to be updated, needs to be rebuilt. And if we're going to rebuild a mold, we're not going to simply just give you the same model you had before. We're going to put refinements in it. We're going to make it better. And that's what our goal is. In the end, we want you to enjoy the models that you've pre-ordered. So with that, let's see if there's any questions. Let's see. Will there be any bicentennial units arriving in 2026 for our 250th anniversary? Yeah, the Boston Maine one is scheduled for 2027. I believe there is one or two. I believe we've got a GP 39. I can't remember, but we did one as an Athearn bicentennial. That should be coming along later. Let's see what else. A lot of folks are happy about the 40-2s. That's good to hear. Sid saying this is the reason why I like Horizon Hobby, Athearn quality products. Thank you for that. I appreciate that. One of the things that really has helped us, if you think about it, back before Horizon owned Athearn, we had some nice models, don't get me wrong. For the period that we were in, pretty good models. But we've progressed. And honestly, if Horizon hadn't purchased Athearn, there's no way we would have been able to keep up with the other manufacturers. We would have been pretty much doing the stuff that we were doing back in the early 2000s. And for some of you, just take a look. That was almost the dark ages for some of us modelers. Thanks to Horizon being our parent company, they've been able to allow us to produce such models as the AC 4400, Dash 9s, retooled over most of our GP locomotives with new lighting features. All that tooling costs money. And, well, you've heard the old saying, money doesn't grow on trees. We try to price our things favorable and fairly, despite what's going on right now. We've had to adjust some things because of tariffs. We do get some complaints about MSRP, but I always tell folks you need to talk to your dealer. We do sell direct, but since we are a dealer based manufacturer, we allow the dealers to come up with their prices, and you're going to get a much better deal through your hobby dealer. Let's see, any other questions? Is the SD40-2 a new model? No, technically that's been in the Athearn catalog for a number of years. It has been upgraded over time. The ones that I showed you, those are new paint schemes. We haven't offered those before. In some cases where we have offered roads before, they're going to be in different road numbers. That way, if you purchase the earlier versions, you can add these to your roster easily. Question about the McLeod SD38-2s. That should be later this in 2026. I don't have a date yet. We've been working with the factory, trying to get through the backlog of projects. We're slowly slogging through it. Let's see. Eric says, "Hey Jim, did you get the photo of the book cover from the Blue Box era? Do you remember that book?" I remember that book, but I didn't get any pictures. Let's see what else we've got. This is another question that's been floating around on social media for a couple of weeks. Valid question. Any update on the SD50s? We're still at least a year out on that because that is a brand new model from the ground up. That is another one that we announced it, kind of put our stake in the ground there. There's a lot of work that's going to be done with those. And again, research, development, all of that. And if you remember, we're looking to hire somebody. We are looking to add another product developer to the team. We desperately could use somebody that has CAD experience as well as a lot of experience with the prototype, meaning the actual locomotives and rolling stock. If you have those qualifications, go over to horizonhobby.com, scroll to the bottom of the page, select careers under About Us, and you'll see a listing for Athearn. Again, we're looking for somebody that's got CAD experience and has a lot of experience with North American locomotives, both steam, diesel, as well as freight, passenger cars, things of that nature. If you've got those qualifications, go ahead and fill out that application. We'd love to talk to you. Eric, it was a PM. So one of the things that there's no delicate way to put this. Since I am the spokesperson for Athearn, a lot of folks think, hey, you know what? I'm going to go find Jim Wiggin on Facebook, Instagram, some kind of social media, and I'm going to hit him up with some information. So ironically enough, I do run the social media for Athearn, and that includes all of the major ones. Like, of course, I run YouTube, and I run all that as a corporate account. Ironically enough, when I come home, I've had so much social media intake that my own personal Facebook page doesn't really get updated. So if you send me a message through Facebook Messenger, be prepared that I will answer it, but it will probably be in weeks, if not sometimes a month or more. I'm just not really one of those people that spends a lot of time on social media. I'd rather just work on my models. So forgive me if I haven't opened that message yet, but I'll have to look for it tonight after the show. Jason is dreaming up his railroad of lies. He says, Jim, can the Surfliner work in the 80s? I can see some working on the Truesville Southern with F40PH being used as part of CARTA. Not quite. This is more of a 90s era car. But again, it's your railroad of lies. And rule number one is it's your railroad. You can do whatever you like. Now, originally at the time I was modeling New England in HO. Now I've kind of switched gears and gone to the Midwest. I'm still trying to figure out a way I'm going to get Surfliners on this layout. I'll figure something out. Good to hear that some folks are in the holiday spirit. Railfan 101 says, Jim, I just moved into an ADU and made some space for a Christmas tree setup. It's all hardwood, and so it's perfect for running trains under the tree. That's awesome. That is awesome. I don't have my train under the tree yet, but Charles Woods with his weekly N scale question. He wants to know, hey Jim, is there anything coming in N scale? Railroads of the LNN, ICG, and SCL roads sometime down the road, sometime soon. Specifically in those roads, I want to say we've got some Seaboard coming in N scale, and let's see, we just started shipping some FMC boxcars in N scale. You'll have to tune in for that episode on Train Tuesday. If you pre-ordered them, you probably already have them. But as far as new products, last year we came out with the acid tank cars. We've got the CA11s that still need to be produced and sent out. We've got the NSCs. There's still some more N scale that's going to be delivered, but not specifically just for those roads in mind. Charles Nelson, great question. Can we get some 80s era cars and trucks? You're speaking my language. I love cars, if you know me. I have some cars in real life that I'm restoring and I play with when I'm not playing with my trains. And I would love to offer some cars from the 80s. In fact, I've got some off the top of my head that I would love to be seen for HO scale. In my opinion, the HO scale scene for vehicles has gotten better over the last few years. I can think of some manufacturers that have really brought some good cars to the market. However, we're still not seeing what we see in people's driveways. Go back to the 1980s. What did you see in driveways? You probably saw the first generation Caravans and Voyagers. You probably saw K cars. You probably saw Citations. I'm really aging myself here if you know what a citation is. Celebrities, Chevettes, things like that. Let's be honest, not every driveway in our neighborhood had a brand new Corvette or a brand new Mustang or a brand new Monte Carlo. They had the cars that we went to school with, the K cars, the Diplomats, stuff like that. I would really love to see that stuff. And Athearn has been trying to do some new cars and trucks in HO scale. And the 80s are definitely cars that we could use, especially if you model the 80s to present day. The biggest problem that we have as a manufacturing is licensing. Licensing is the one thing that takes up a lot of time. Now, you're probably saying, well, Jim, you've done Mac before. Why can't you do Mac now? Well, that license expired. And so far, Mac doesn't really want to come to the table and talk with us. What about Ford? You have a Ford license. That's correct. One thing that folks don't really know is when we go into negotiations for licensing for Ford, they will license specific models. So 1953 era F100s, 1968 F850s, those kind of trucks we've got licenses for. 1980s era Bronco or a 1980s Ranger or F-150, we don't have licensing for that. We have to pursue that licensing. Now, I'm just telling you all of that just so that you know that it takes time for us to go through all the legal stuff, make sure that we've done all the things correctly, and then it takes time for us to tool that up. Really, in the terms of tooling, it doesn't really matter if it's a small HO scale car or an HO scale 6-axle diesel locomotive. There's still a lot of work that's involved. We're hoping in the future we can actually offer a little bit more as far as cars and trucks specifically ones that we saw in our driveways, not Maseratis. Let's see what else we've got for questions here. That's one that we need an HO scale. Randall said he had an 87 Ford Crown Victoria for many years. It was a pretty solid car. Yes, they were. The 4.6 modular V8, that was a great engine, great car. Here's a question. Any chance of a 65-ton center cab Whitcomb locomotive in the future? There's always a chance. Do we have any firm commitments on that right now? I honestly couldn't tell you because product development has a list that they're working on. And by the time you hear it is about the same time I'm hearing about it. I have enough time to get some product briefing done on it and everything, but they are so far down the road on stuff that they let a little bit out when they think they're ready to make that announcement. Let's see what other questions we have. ETA for the 20-foot tank container? Nothing concrete yet. They are still shooting for 2026, but I don't know when. When will you release a Genesis Norfolk Southern GP38-2 high hood? I think we've got some coming in 2026 that we announced almost 2 years ago. And I'm trying to remember what era those are. See, another reason why I'm glad that we're doing 2 months, because you start coming out with 260 item numbers every month, it gets confusing. I think we're going to have some coming out probably by summer of 2026. So keep your eyes posted and always watch Train Tuesday. All right, let's see what other questions we have. ETA, the LNN 40-2s. If you're talking the Jeep 40-2s, that's going to be, I'm trying to remember, I've got a list in my head. Believe that's going to be late spring, early summer of 2026. Here's an interesting question. Can we have a fun night with Athearn sometime? So Canadian Locomotive Logistics. Help me out here. What do you mean by a fun night? My mind went to Jim Rockford, and I'm not Jim Rockford. I don't want to get beat up. I don't know if that's your idea of a good time. If a good time means, we can run some trains or something like that, then definitely. But let me know what you mean by that. It might happen. Who knows? Let's see what else we've got. Peter wants to know, can we buy extra screens, Jim? I have some cars that need them. I built some Hollies with the old cars. I have are you talking about the Hollies you rebuild? I think I've rebuilt a 750 double bumper once. Let's see what else we've got here. Elko Steam wants to know, are the Illinois Terminal SW1500 still on schedule for March? As far as I know, they are. I haven't heard of any holdups with those. Sid wants to know, can we get an HO scale Jim Wiggin? No, you can't. But I do have good news. You can get an HO scale George Bogatok from Soundtracks. In fact, I'm probably going to have one for this layout at some point. What happened to the RX 500? It is still ruminating back there in product development. It is still being worked on. We hope to have an announcement for it soon. I know I've said that many times. There's a lot going on with that little locomotive, and I'm really looking forward to the day that we can announce that so I can share with you everything that has been put into that design. Any more 60-foot heavyweight passenger cars in the pipeline? Probably. When? I don't know when, but probably. Let's see what else is out here. Oh, sorry, Peter. No, beat car screens. Yeah, when those do start shipping, um, you can email us at athernhelp@horizonhobby.com, and that goes to our service technician, and they should have spares. You say screens and Holly, and I'm thinking carburetors. This is one I haven't heard any questions about for anymore. Amtrak GP7s. They were supposed to be out this year. Yeah, they were supposed to be out this year. They got delayed. Those, I believe, we're going to try to get the shipment in late January, early February of 2026. I think they're part of that same group. Paul, yes, kind of the same answer. We're looking at probably January, February of 2026 on all three of those. I hope you pre-ordered those because I can tell you all three of those road names um, are not going to last long. Let's see what else we've got. Peter, I knew you were good with polycarbs too because I know you've talked to me at a show about it or something. So good question, Terry. He says, Jim, I bought a couple of sets of those rapid discharge hoppers from the last run. One was missing a load from the set. It was coal. Will these newer ones fit mine, and how can I get a replacement one? It's a good question. Will they fit? I'm going to assume they will. That's a question that we'll have to ask product development where they've been refined from the ground up. I would think they would. I don't think the loads themselves have been redesigned. That being said, when those do come into stock in the late winter, early spring of 2026, we should have parts for those. And again, you can contact us at athernhelp@horizonhobby.com and talk to a technician and get those loads. Good question. Scott, any samples of 60-foot Texarkana boxcars expected soon? Haven't haven't heard anything from product development on those specifically. So I'll have to check in with product development and get back to you on that. Typically, product development is really good about getting sample pictures to me, which I put up on our Facebook. I put it in our newsletter, and of course, like tonight, I put it on a live feed. So I guarantee you, when they have some pictures that they can share, they'll get them to me, and I can share them with you. GP15-1s will be a future run, most definitely. The last run that we offered was just upgraded with lit number boards and in some cases class lights. So are we going to do another run? There's still another run that's going to be delivered, which we're hoping early spring, late summer, somewhere in there that those will be delivered. But are we going to do another? We'll probably announce them in 2026. If there is a road that you desperately want to see in a GP15-1, please get it into Athern-product suggestions at athern.com immediately because we're in the planning stages still. Let's see. Charles wants to know any chance or plans on producing any tunnel motor locomotives and N scale trains and roads for like SP, SSW, Rio Grande roads in the future. Yeah, there's always a possibility because we've already got the drawings and the everything for tunnel motors. Will we do them in N scale? Probably will. It's just a matter of when. All right. Any other questions you have? I'm kind of going through. Oh, okay. That we should get somebody to make a kit of the Athern building for your layout. Yes. So some folks asking about SD70Ms SD70 Max, things of that nature. One of the things that I was talking about earlier in this live feed was the rapid discharge hoppers. They required a lot of work. So rather than just fixing the tooling, we upgraded the tooling. We're kind of in that situation now with the SD70. We're looking at it. There's some refinements we want to do. We want to clean it up a little bit. And so that's taken a little bit longer than what we originally advertised. Do we have a date for all of those that you pre-ordered? We don't have a firm date yet because we're still, working on the financials. We're looking at what needs to be done. In the end, what we want to do is deliver a quality product to you without cutting corners. Once we've got that figured out and we start getting production rolling again, we'll give you an idea of when we can expect those. Good question, Brandon. Will Genesis SD60s have pre-installed speakers on the DCC ready units? Unless that we specifically advertise that. We've done that with some Athearn locomotives. I don't have any here in the studio with me, but we have done that with some Athearn locomotives, and there's a little icon on the box that says speaker installed. Generally, with the Genesis models, we don't do that. There's a couple of reasons why we don't do that. A lot of folks are very particular about their decoders. So we offer the DCC ready so they can put in the decoder of their choice. Likewise, they're also kind of picky about their sound system. So we realize there's some great aftermarket sound systems out there that make really nice quality speakers. So rather than just give you a speaker already that you may just end up replacing, we leave it all up to you. So think of the DCC ready locomotives as a customizable locomotive. How about a new reintroduction of the new and improved Hustler locomotive? Well, technically the RX 500 is kind of that. Any Amtrak, Acela, and Genesis line ever? Always a possibility. The Surfliners were just kind of a gateway. We're planning on doing some more stuff in the future. Let's see what else we've got here. Randall, those Frisco 90 Max, they're going to be a little bit. You're going to have to wait a little bit longer for those. Interesting. No one has made an Indiana Harbor Belt 080 for years. I think Athearn will do one. Send us your suggestion. Can't promise it, but it'd definitely be a cool locomotive to produce. All right. Well, I'm hoping you enjoyed the back and forth, a little bit different format tonight I wanted to share with you. We're going to have all new stuff next week on the layout. I'm really looking forward to showing you what's going to be here. We've got some Genesis models that are shipping right now, and we're going to share those with you in the next coming weeks. We've also got some new HO and N-scale FMC box cars that are currently shipping to your dealer. We're going to talk about those on an upcoming Train Tuesday. And yeah, even some roundhouse box cars if we get a chance. We've also got more stuff coming in before the end of the year. So if there's been some pre-orders that you're anxiously awaiting, your time is almost there. Also, if you haven't done so already, do me a favor and sign up for the Athearn newsletter. We call it the Dispatcher. Now, the Dispatcher is delivered to your email digital inbox every Friday afternoon. And with it, you're basically made aware of what pre-orders are currently open, when those pre-orders close. You also are alert of what's coming soon, so you can kind of help budget. I mean, we're all under one of those, aren't we? And you'll also see what's in stock in case maybe you didn't pre-order, but maybe you should have. Well, you can see what's in stock at your Athearn dealer now. And then we also like to share with you what we're working on, maybe personally what we're working on or as a group. We've been sharing a lot of these pictures like you saw tonight on the what's going through product development right now on our newsletter. And of course, right now we are still advertising that we're looking for product developers. So sign up for that newsletter. It gets delivered every week. It's free. It's a great way to stay on top of everything Athearn. All right, I'm going to take one, maybe two more questions. I'm also going to, while we're doing this, I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you real quick, in case you've not done it before, how to see the new pre-orders on our website. So let's see. We're going to go over to the Athearn website. Bring that up here real quick. So go to athearn.com. There's the homepage. Look right up here. You see announcements and you see new announcements. Select new announcements and you can see everything that we're offering right now. Now, again, we've extended these until the day after Christmas, or what I call Boxing Day, and some other folks in the world call Boxing Day. But these are going to be available for pre-order until December 26th. We wanted to extend that because, again, I get it. There's a lot going on. There's some really neat stuff here. We've got some F units, Atlantic Coastline. We've got matching passenger cars, the Roundhouse Streamliners that have been recently updated. We've got a lot of different things open for you this month. And don't forget the all-new flat cars and gondolas. Brand new tooling has never been offered before. They've recently been refined. The artwork has been updated thanks to input from our fans. I want to thank you for that. We've got some Elco RS3s that are available for pre-order. Don't forget N-scale guys. We didn't forget you. There's some 57-foot mechanical reefers available. HO, you get some as well. And of course, in the Genesis line, we've got the 38-2s now with the improved lighting features, including class lights where applicable and number boards all the way around. And one of my favorites, the Trinity covered hoppers. So you can just go over to athearn.com, take a look. It's a digital catalog if you like. If you're interested in learning more about any one of these subjects, just open up the PDF and you can read through each particular model and write down which ones you want to pre-order through your dealer. All right. Do we have info on the RX 500 somewhere? Yes, actually we do. If you go back to our YouTube channel and look up one of our new announcement videos, we did one from the National Train Show in Texas a couple of years ago, and John shows pictures and line art and things of the RX 500. There's some information there that would probably be beneficial for you. SDP 45's PDF says next month. Are they still on track for January? And a little bit delayed. Probably closer to spring of next year. Let's see. Thomas Mendoza wants to know an update on the GP7U. That is going to be in a different group from the Jeep 7s that we're going to be offering in early winter. That's probably going to be much later in 2026, almost a year on that one. Rogan says, can't wait for the those RS3s. Too bad that the latest releases are not Tsunami 2 with sound. Well, the good news is if you get the DCC ready version, it can be. So keep in mind that Genesis, you have the option of getting them DCC ready or with the Tsunami 2. Tsunami 2 is the top tier decoder with soundtrack, so we put that in the top tier locomotive at Athearn. Athearn, which is our middle tier, that's going to get the Economy. But I understand, I'm in the same boat. I've got some Athearn locomotives that I absolutely love, but I'm kind of spoiled with the lighting features, the 8 lighting features that the Soundtrack's Tsunami has. So I'll get the DCC ready version and I'll drop in the Tsunami 2. All right. So yeah, if you go ahead and get the DCC ready version one, then you can go ahead and just put a Tsunami 2 in it yourself. That's what I like. All right. Question. I was waiting for this one. When will the NSC 6400 gondolas with loads come out? Still doing some design work on those. Still doing some refinements, and don't have a firm date for you yet. That's a brand new model, so it might take a little bit longer than what we expected. All right, I'm all over those truss rod gondolas and flats. Ordered a slug of them. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. We all appreciate your business. Remember what? Well, if you haven't seen it, take a look over at Train World's YouTube video um, channel, and you can see where Tony Cook and Ken Bianco Jr. and myself talked about the pre-orders, and we talked about those cars, and we, for the first time, showed line art drawings that have not been shown to the rest of the world yet. This is all brand new tooling, and we're kind of dipping our toe in the water. And if we get enough pre-orders for these 1870 to 1920 era cars, we're going to do more than just flat cars and gondolas. So if you're a fan of that era, definitely, um, definitely go ahead and do some pre-orders so that we can keep fulfilling your needs. All right. Mr. Fisk wants to know, do DCC Ready come with LED already installed? Yes. Now, one thing I do want to make clear, and you can see this on our PDFs, if you get a DCC Ready locomotive, whether it be all the way down from roundhouse, most roundhouse model locomotives are DCC Ready, that we don't have a DCC option. Athearn comes DCC Ready, or with the Economy, and Genesis comes with DCC Ready or the Tsunami 2 decoder. In all instances with the DCC Ready, they will have LED headlights, LED features. However, there are going to be some features, and you see this more in the Genesis series. If it has lit number boards and lit classification lights, then the DCC Ready versions will have those LEDs. In some cases, though, where you have to add the ditch lights, like with some of the Athearn models, no, they're not going to include the LEDs. In some cases, with like a beacon or something, it may not include those either. What you want to do is you want to take a look at the PDFs, and we'll actually outline in there and say, you know, strobe effect only in DCC Ready. That's just one thing to look for, but for the most part, they do include DCC lights. Yes, Genesis is our premier brand. I have a Genesis model here behind me. That is the latest GP39-2 with the lit number boards. It does not have lit classification lights because by the time Santa Fe shopped this locomotive in the 80s, they took those off, and by the time it was wearing its Heritage 1, that was a long, distant memory. All right. Mr. David Reynolds looking out for me, says, Jason, make sure we have a good restaurant to ensure Jim gets some good Southern cooking. That is my Achilles heel, my kryptonite. I am firmly based in New England, but there is something about Southern food that just can't be replicated. Now, be careful. I've lost 30 pounds in the last year, and I'm wanting to lose another 20 before the end of the year. So I'm going to have to keep that stuff. I'm going to do a lot of walking, I think, when I get to Chattanooga. Charles, a little late to the game on this one. Yeah, we are not going to be able to do JB Hunt anymore, unfortunately. Not going to be able to do those. All right. Well, with that, I want to thank you for joining me on another Train Tuesday. It was good time interacting with you. Keep in mind, I'm going to be at the 2026 Railroad Hobby Show in West Springfield, Massachusetts. That's going to be January 25th and 26th. I get to go home for that weekend. I'm looking forward to it. We're going to be in the Better Living Center. We're going to be right in the smack dab middle of the building. I believe it's 32A is our booth number. If you're going to be going to the show, stop by the booth. Celebrate 80 years with Athearn. We're going to have some great stuff there for you to look at, stuff that has never been seen before. We're going to have folks from product development, and they're going to be bringing some neat stuff. And I'll be bringing the stuff that's going to be in stock soon or already shipping to dealers. And of course, it's always a good time to stop and talk about our layouts in the hobby that we love so much. With that, I want to thank you once again for joining us. And I know it's the holiday season, but try to sneak a few hours into the layout if you can. Be happy, be safe, be kind to others, do some good modeling, and above all, high greens. Take care, everyone.